Welcome to Landlord Diaries, where we talk about midterm rentals and the opportunities behind them. We'll share landlord stories, talk about maximizing investment potential, and discuss how to live the very best landlord life. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Furnish Finder, the place for everything midterm rentals. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content.
Here we are again with another great episode from the Landlord Diaries. This is your host, Kelly Bailey, and I have a personal goal that I haven't shared with you all. My personal goal as your host is to get a story from all 50 states, a midterm rental story that can encourage you from all around the nation. And today we have one of those. We get to travel to Maine. So my wonderful co-host, Katie, our marketing director, what did you gather from Kristen today?
Ooh. Kristen takes a little bit of a different approach to her landlord practice. Obviously she has a professional approach, but she also has a community approach where she wants to get to know the tenants. She wants to serve the tenants as far as getting them involved in the community. She wants to find people to stay at her properties that will enhance the communities that their properties are in. And she's really just taking the thoughtfulness of that to the next level and has a lot of good ways to share that you as a landlord can serve your community and get more involved with your tenants in a very professional way. That's really just going to level you up. So I'm excited for this one, for everyone to listen. Please do not forget to comment, to like, to subscribe, to share, all of the wonderful things. And if you're loving what we are doing, we would love for you to review our podcast on whatever platform you are listening on. Thank you so much.
Today we talk with Kristen Gaylord, a midterm rental investor in the state of Maine. Real estate investing comes in many different shapes and sizes, and we will see this today in Kristen's portfolio. Her passion is giving back to Maine communities, and one of the ways Kristen does this is by educating her neighbors on why midterm rentals are an important part in their community. Kristen, I'm so happy to have you on the show today, our first Maine guest. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. Maine is beautiful today. It's starting to feel like fall.
Oh, exciting. Very fun. I can't wait for you. I planned at the end for you to share some fun facts about Maine that maybe aren't as popular, like lobster. Everyone knows lobster, but what else? So we'll get to that later. So our first question for today, since community outreach is your passion, Kristen, let's start there. How do you serve your Maine communities currently?
Absolutely. So currently I serve on the board of the Christine B Foundation. And the reason that board really resonated with me is their sole focus is providing nutritious groceries free of charge delivered to cancer patients currently going through treatment. And so what's wonderful about this is Maine is very large from a geographic perspective. So access to fresh fruits and grocery stores could be a significant commute. So this door-to-door service is something really unique and remarkable. And of course, fits really nicely back into the community and, the clientele that I look to rent to.
And how do you educate and involve your neighbors in your midterm rental properties? Because I don't think many of us are doing that.
Absolutely. So I try to find communities to invest in that have a need. So whether it's, physicians aren't living and working there, or if there is a remote need for local services. And so when I do that, my next move is to buy the property and then go meet the neighborhood, introduce myself, find out their story. Why are they there? Are they new to the area? Have they retired there? Is this generational? And you get to know their story and you get to share back what our story is. That it's not about necessarily just set it and forget it renting. It's truly understanding what does this community need and how can we help? And we want to be friendly neighbors. When you run out of salt, my neighbor that I'm renting to may expect you to knock on the door, and that's okay. We want you to build a friendship and a relationship while you're there.
Oh, I love that. See, I'm so thankful that I live in a neighborhood where I always tell anyone who comes visits, I'm like, I'm so lucky if I run out of sugar, right? It's just a metaphor we all use. But I'm like, there are literally 8 houses I could go knock on and get it. Anytime I need anything, hey, I need help with the kids or the dogs, or is someone home for this or that? Like, it really is a community, and I'm so thankful of that. But I've never thought of extending that to my midterm rentals, and you'd
Mhm.
Right.
think that'd be such a natural kind of next step, but I've never even thought of that.
I love that perspective on getting the neighbors involved. And like Katie said, we don't think of that too often. And when you really are so many hosts that do a phenomenal job, such as Jesse Vasquez or Sarah Weaver, the leaders in our industry, time and time again, you hear people say it's about relationships. And so many of these monthly travelers, they're coming in fresh. They don't know anyone in the community or that area. They don't know anything about it. They're just looking forward to the adventure. So it's such a great idea to get your neighbors involved. And I think you've even related that it helps your guests renew and stay longer when they know neighbors and get involved in the community.
Yeah,
Is that right?
absolutely. Because then they don't feel so much like a temporary guest in that community. They truly feel like they're ingrained in it. And the neighbors make a reference to, hey, did you know this festival is coming up downtown? Great. Now they're getting to experience something that maybe I wouldn't have even thought of because it's so local and so small in scale. Yeah, it makes people, feel welcome and want to stay. Where are the moose located? The neighbor's going to tell you 9 times out of 10 where you can go see one.
Oh, and I try to find, literally, I search for moose locations. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I'm in Colorado or one of those states, I'm like, where is all the moose locally? And I try to find the forums, and it's so hard. It's like just asking somebody is normally the easier route.
I didn't even realize that there was moose in Maine, you guys.
Yes, fun fact number 2, lobster and moose.
Geographically challenged.
Another component, from the connection of really making it resonate with the community, specifically with healthcare, is Millinocket is so remote. And so to have people understand that we're investing in our house so that a doctor can be there to save them an hour and a half commute for their physical, or that they're working in the emergency room, like those are moments that matter to people. So it really does resonate, and it helps them keep an eye on the place, be supportive of us as investors, let us know when other properties are coming up. So it's really been a win-win.
Okay, so tell us how you start those relationships. Like, are you just literally going and knocking on doors?
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like something like that these days could feel really awkward. But all of these things you're saying sound so wonderful, but I'm like, how do you do it?
Yes. So some I've knocked on the door for sure because they're not really outside of their home a lot. Those are harder to start, but the person that I see out mowing their lawn, I just go over and start asking them about their house, mowing the lawn. I met somebody snow blowing their driveway in Millinocket. I went over and introduced myself. I met the town manager and asked for some of the people around town that may be resistant to investors, and I reached out to them, asked them to have a cup of coffee, told them about my plan. And it's amazing when you take that genuine approach instead of hearing like, hey, this house is rented or this house is for sale. That relationship and that true connection people can get behind.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think the last 2 parts I want to hone in on, because guess what, guys? Kristen's got a really cool welcome guide that also involves, gets the community aspects involved. But before we get to that, you know, a lot of residents look at it as Airbnb guests or short-term rental guests, that they're like, hey, we don't know who's coming into our area. We don't know if they're safe. We don't know, if they've got something on their record. And how do we know that they're going to be a good addition to our neighborhood where my kid can still go play out in the yard and have a good time and feel safe? I think that's a lot of times what people think of when they see short-term travel, and they don't understand that midterm is a little different than that. And so, Kristen, one thing that you do is you actually explain how it helps their medical needs by opening up their door to these traveling nurses or medical professionals coming into their area. So give us a little background on that so that others can explain it well to their communities as well.
Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Furnish Finder, the ultimate platform for hassle-free midterm rentals. Whether you're a seasoned landlord or just getting started, Furnish Finder is the place for you. With Furnish Finder, you can say goodbye to booking fees and hello to direct bookings for 30-day plus stays. It's a win-win for everyone involved. So if you're ready to experience the joys of midterm renting and take a load off your landlord's shoulders, head over to FurnishedFinder.com today. We make it easy to get started. We're grateful to Furnished Finder for sponsoring this episode, and we're sure you'll love what they have in store for you.
You know, there's two professions that I think I have noticed really resonate with the community members that I speak with. One is medical. And so saying like medical, whether it's doctors, x-rays, follow-ups, emergencies, those are moments that matter and people want experts available. And so in a lot of Maine communities, we don't have a surplus of healthcare. So by me providing this Millinocket rural house with a physician that can be there for those moments that matter, instead of driving, 2 hours, hour and a half for a simple appointment, that really resonates. The other is economic development, right? So we're talking a little bit of rural Maine. We have solar farms going in. We have mills that are being revitalized with different opportunities. And they have engineers staying for 8 months. Mm-hmm. They have, just different professionals staying for 6 to 8 months. And when I say they're making the community better and improving for all of us to lower taxes, stay, work, and play, bring in new opportunities, versus the traditional short-term reputation of party. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't feel safe. I don't trust.
For sure. So far, who have been your midterm rental guests coming through Maine? Is it mainly medical professionals or reaches some of those different industries as well?
It is. So I have a traveling respiratory therapist right now. And I found her through Unmatched Tenants.
Leads?
Yep. Yeah, Unmatched Leads, baby.
Yes. And she has renewed. It was originally 4 months and she stayed 8. So that's been wonderful. And then we have an emergency room doctor in Millinocket who actually reached out to us on Furnish Finder, the healthcare agency did, which was super interesting to me. So those were my two first Furnish Finder experiences, which is why I wanted to share. I've since then shared my story with some of our friends and my husband's business partners, and they've listed some of their properties, and they are now instantly seeing the solar farm engineers, the welders, the people that are coming to do pretty large scale infrastructure improvements in Maine. And it's like a dream. It's like a dream tenant.
I want to go back to these doctors for a second. You mentioned how they can also serve the community around them. In case someone needs to see a nurse or a doctor or something. How does that work logistically? Are you approaching the tenants / medical professionals and saying like, hey, there's also an opportunity if you'd like to serve the community around here? And then did they just go about navigating that? Because I can see that that kind of, I think about it like decades ago when you're like, oh, well, there's a doctor down the street versus if you're in a rural area, maybe like you said, driving an hour and a half to get to someone. But then my modern mind goes to, well, what about the insurance? What about the logistics? How do they let people know? Like, how do those things? So how are you kind of taking those complications or logistics and making it work? Because I can tell that you are so passionate about the community and these rentals benefiting the community.
Yeah, definitely. So they're not doing private house visits. They're staying and working in these really small rural hospitals. And the reason it resonates with my neighbors is like they don't have to travel, because if they don't have a doctor for that rural hospital,
it's filling the needs at these small hospitals.
Mm-hmm. And then pulling it full circle though, like to your point, some of the healthcare professionals that are here are like, how can I get involved in the community? And that's why like the Kristen E Foundation, I'm like, well, once a week in Brewer down the road at the cancer care, we pack recyclable bags with lettuce and farm produce if you want to give back. And so it's kind of that full circle experience.
Right. Oh, I love that. And your tenants, I'm assuming, have been pretty receptive to that.
Yes. And at first, it was funny. My husband, was joking, like, not everybody may like this approach. Like, some might be saying, oh, leave me alone. But I'll tell you now, like, we've developed friendships with both. They send us pictures, selfies, journals, literally of their trips that they're taking on the weekends. And so
Oh,
it's been really fun. My plan is to maybe build like a photo album or, with their permission, like outline your trip because that might make it easy for someone following behind you. Because believe it, and in Maine, I mean, there are a lot of elements, right? There's weather, there's mud season. So, the trail that you went to see that lighthouse may not be passable. And so those are the fun facts that I think we could weave into, some of these leave behinds.
all right. So that ties into your welcome book really well. Like you're already saying how you get the buy-in of not only the neighbors, but of course the guests staying with you as well to see and reciprocate that same hospitality of being a good neighbor in that community also. And so your welcome guide was really refreshing and enlightening because we all have those standard things like local restaurants, local hiking areas, but you took it one step more and plugged it into the community aspects, and you've got an additional logistics section that shows who the power is coming from, internet, gas, like who all's providing what operates the house. And then you have emergency services letting them know, hey, if you do feel like you need to call somebody, here's the police number, the fire department number. I think that is so innovative. And tell us about, those aspects and why you chose to include them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, from a safety perspective and familiarizing yourself in a place that you may never have been is really important to me. And so I was trying to think outside of the box, or what are little things that can make them feel like I genuinely care about their stay and being safe.
Yeah. I love that. So cool. Well, Kristen, that was so many great tips on how to be a good neighbor in your community and really educate those traveling with you and living next to your investment property on how to get involved in midterm rentals. And it sounds like you've taken that even further and have shared the love with other friends and family that have now jumped into midterm rentals as well. Such great conversation. So the second half of our episode today is going to be about Kristen's portfolio because she has quite a few different style of properties. How she acquired each of them will be an inspiration to you in some aspects, and then just like those little details that come with different types of properties. So let's start with your primary home, and which is also a future midterm rental. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So when I met my husband, I had a house and he had a house. And so this is what kind of launched us into midterm real estate. His house, I moved in with him. We live in Orrington, Maine. And the style is a duplex. So it's a raised ranch and there's 2 floors of full kitchen, bedrooms, separate entryways. And so the plan for the future of this is for us to relocate and rent these 2 floors out. Very conveniently located again to things that I can be of help to recommend: hikes, water, river, local restaurants, hospitals. So that's a primary residence. The house that I came to the marriage with is in Brewer, which is located outside of Bangor. And that is a grassroots community. So a lot of my neighbors were 60 plus, very welcoming. They were the ones that, again, really resonated with our philosophy. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath ranch. It has washer and dryer, a nice fenced-in yard, a deck. It has a small shed. We have deer that come every morning. And so it's been a really nice rental place that's a little bit diverse, right? Because there's 3 bedrooms, but then the people that are there now, they're using 2 bedrooms and 1 for an office.
And that one, I think you only live like 5 minutes from, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's very convenient.
Yeah, that is convenient. And Kristen self-manages her rentals. Some of them are close. Some of them are, I believe, a couple hours away. So how does the handyman stuff and like if they need anything, how does that work being 5 minutes from the property?
Yeah, so 5 minutes. The best thing is my husband is in charge of maintenance on the properties. So a funny story about Brewer, the renters locked themselves out, and because they did the deadbolt on the keypad lock. I was getting my hair done downtown, and I called my husband, and we both met there with literally within half an hour, and took the door right off the hinges. Laughed with them, got to know them, replaced the door, gave them spare keys, and so that's been like the fun part of the emergency call, so to speak. My husband's self-employed, a lot of flexibility.
I'm going to add in a tip there because
Mm-hmm.
Dave and I have had a not so happy accident with the same occurrence to ourselves, not to a renter, but we did it to ourselves, which is even better. We are so reliant on our garage keypads
Mm.
that we just leave the house and don't even think about whether we have a key or not because we trust that the garage remote keypad is going to work. Well, it was about 12 a.m. or something at our temple property when we were setting it up. Like we like to be there for maybe like a week and live in the property and like kind of learn the ins and outs of like what someone might experience so we can kind of address those ahead of time. And so we come back 12 a.m. from, I think we went country dancing because it has like a really cute country dancing hall like 5 minutes down the road. And we locked ourselves out. And we're like, do you have a key? Oh, no, I don't have a key either. So now here's the tip. We have started putting not only the garage keypads or like a front door keypad that's electric, we also put a lock box, like one of those manual real estate
Mm-hmm.
style lock boxes, so that they have if one aspect stops working, the other aspect will still be reliable. So we didn't love it in the moment, but we were glad it happened because we bettered our systems because of it.
Okay, so we've got your 2 houses so far. You have a third, correct?
Yes.
Okay, tell us
Yes.
about that one.
Hey landlords, are you ready to level up your rental game and simplify your life? Well, get ready to meet your new best friend, KeyCheck. KeyCheck is your all-in-one solution for stress-free property management with tenant-paid screenings, rent payment processing, online lease creation with eSign, and a suite of incredible landlord tools. You'll wonder how you ever lived without it. No more chasing down checks or sifting through piles of applications. KeyCheck helps you organize and manage all things landlording in a simple and efficient way. So if you're tired of the rental chaos and crave seamless, efficient management, head over to keycheck.com and sign up today. Make landlord life a breeze with KeyCheck, the game changer for modern property owners.
So the third property is located in Millinocket. So it's about an hour and 10 minutes from our house in Orrington. What drew us to the area is it's known for Baxter State Park. Katahdin is there, and it's the end of the Appalachian Trail. So it's a Four Seasons destination. It's not as popular as a national park, but certainly very monumental because of the Appalachian Trail and the Four Seasons. So we're avid outdoor people. We like to hike, we like to fish, hunt, snowmobile, four-wheel. And so we were interested in exploring that area for ourselves. We stumbled upon affordable housing that we'd bought through the BRRRR method. So we bought it, we rehab it, we've refinanced, thankfully when the rates were low. And we decided we should rent this. And we tried the short-term rental. It was fine. It definitely, our neighbors, because we would check in with them after each one, said they were all fine and respectful. It's louder than
It's a
normal,
lot,
right?
Yeah.
Like people with trailers are backing in and out. It's not the everyday, like, hey. It was fine. I may do it again at some point, but I was like, I'm just going to give it a whirl and try Furnish Finder on Millinocket. So our property in Millinocket was listed on Furnish Finder, and I get a message that somebody's interested, and it is a healthcare provider, which I wasn't expecting. My experience with Furnish Finder was the travelers themselves. So she instantly called me. We had a great conversation. I understood her priorities. I understood what she was looking for. She explained that their company actually would be on the lease and the doctor would be the sublease person. So they would be handling the payments. The checks would be coming from them. They prepared all of the lease documentation. I, of course, had my lawyer weigh in and make sure that it covered me from a Maine perspective because they were from Florida. But I was like, this is like too good to be true. Like I put it on and somebody's
Right.
coming to me with all of these things. Like the risk was so minimal.
Right.
So I asked if I could get in contact with a doctor to introduce myself, and they said yes. And I asked him, got to know about him, his wife, the grandkids, what their plans are. He asked if he could have a garden. I said absolutely. He wanted to put some tomatoes in. So I got him some seed. I got some planters, put a hose out there, just as instead of my traditional welcome package
Sure.
that could be like, right, just canned things. He showed up to that and he sent me a picture and was like, thank you so much for making this special, because I had heard about the tomatoes and had the stuff there. So,
Oh, that's awesome. That's amazing. I think there's a couple of nuggets I want to pull from your story there. First of all, is if you're thinking about listing your property and there aren't any properties listed around where yours is, that's okay. That doesn't mean that there's no demand, right? You only need one tenant at a time. And we talk about this a lot, but with rental properties and midterm rentals in particular, you don't need 100 people all at once, right? You need one tenant. And let's say they have a 90-day stay. On average, you only need 4 per year, right? So you don't need, everybody always asks, is there enough demand? Is there enough demand? I'm like, one. You have one property, you need one tenant, right? For each. The other thing is kind of your hospitality there. And this is something that's becoming something we talk about more and more, but going out of your way. I can't imagine it took a lot of time or money to set up that tomato plant and supplies, but that kind of set the stage for your relationship with that doctor. Not only saying like, I'm here to serve you and make your place comfortable, but also making it professional and, setting kind of that standard of, okay, here's the bar of our relationship. Let's maintain it here. So I think that's huge for landlords to know that not only is it a way to welcome people and help your reviews and everything, but it also just sets the tone for what your relationship is going to be like.
absolutely. You can see that trust and it's reciprocated back. They'll call proactively about things or like, hey, I fixed this, but just wanted to let you know that the dish broke or something, right? It's the little things that I would never know about, but they feel like there's this connection of communication and respect. And so it's fun. I mean, I would say I talk to my tenants every month.
And they're also like more involved with, like, they feel like their property is their temporary home, right? It's not a stay. I actually got a text message from a tenant this morning and she was like, hey, the shower head isn't like pushing water out very well. We tried to get the buildup off just from hard water. It's not coming out. And I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll order you a new shower head. Are you comfortable putting it on? And I'm like, I can definitely get someone there if you want, but I know that that's not that challenging for most people. And I would rather not have to interrupt your day if I don't have to. And she's like, oh, for sure, we can put it on. And I was like, fantastic. And thinking in my head, now that's one thing I don't have to coordinate. Asked her, is there anything else you need? She's like, we could use some kitchen shears. Ours aren't very sharp. And I'm like, great. Thanks to Walmart Plus. If anyone doesn't have a Walmart Plus subscription, it's like $35 for a year. You can get free same-day delivery. It is so impressive to your tenants. It's so, like, you go online and you can order. It got hand delivered to their doorstep within 2 hours. They were blown away. And it took me 2 seconds on my app. So
it's $35 annually?
Yeah, a year.
I'm going to get a Walmart Plus membership. And you just do it from you order from your Walmart app?
Yeah, you order it from your app and they send you a picture and it's delivered to their door.
I love that because Dave and I have been ordering a lot of stuff that way. And one of them, was like, oh, the doors are a little squeaky. No problem. We will get some WD-40 like sent to you right away. And I think ours took 2 days, but I mean, that wasn't really necessarily some high importance item. And then on the shower head, same idea. We had that happen recently because most of ours are in hard water areas and we don't have water softeners because, there's always pluses and negatives and positives to having a water softener. And so we scheduled through, because Dave and I use American Home Shield. So American Home Shield was going to come out, take a look at it, replace it if needed, things like that. But um, her husband comes down on the weekends to visit. And so he's like, oh, I'm just going to take the shower head off, take a look at it. And he was able to clean it out, remove the hard water deposits, put it back on, and now it's working great again. So it's like so many little tips.
It's been a good one because it really, really impresses your tenants when you say, I will have that delivered for you. And they in their head think, okay, you're going to Amazon Prime it to me. It's going to be there in 2 days. All of a sudden it shows up on their doorstep in 2 hours. And they're like, oh, okay. So that's my tip of the day.
That's good. Really good tip. Anything to add, Kristen, to that portion of the conversation?
I don't think so.
Okay, then we're on to your final investment property as of now. I'm sure you have future ones in the works, but my joke for your last investment property, your fourth one, is beam me up, Scotty. Tell us about a beamy.
Absolutely. So, of course, in Maine, a lot of the attraction is the year-round homes on lakes. So, my husband and I have been in pursuit of one of those. And I'll tell you from a real estate perspective, it is a very complex piece of property to purchase. Oftentimes, there isn't power, septic, well, and it could be 10 miles away. So, not just you have to run your own pole. So the utilities can definitely be something that are hard to seek after. There's a lot of legal non-conforming structures, meaning they were built, 20 feet from the water, which is wonderful from an investment experience perspective, but prevents a lot of potential red tape, barriers, permitting. So you have to have eyes wide open to those types of expenses, to those types of potential things that you have to work around. Aside from that, a lot of them are seasonal, so they may not plow the road all the way in the winter. So there's seasonality to the water, there's a permitting, and then of course there's just bidding wars in general because they're highly sought after. So long story short, my husband and I found one. We went this past winter. So you couldn't see the water, it was frozen, covered in snow. You couldn't see the land, it was covered in snow. But all of the questions that we had asked and all of the due diligence checked the boxes. We actually met the neighbors. We asked how the fishing was. We asked if there's good hunting around. We asked if, is it generational people? Is it out of staters? What is the type of dynamic here? We said that what we were looking for in neighbors and what we would be like for neighbors, wanted to make sure that hit off well. So we made a crazy offer and they accepted because it's the time of season that typically people are looking for open water spots.
Right.
So we have just gone through the permitting process. We have approval to lift it up, to dig a foundation, and to put it back with an addition on it. And so our strategy now is beginning to think, do we want to list this on Furnish Finder because there aren't any in the area? And it is close, 12 to 15 miles from hospitals. So not terrible. And again, there's a lot of development infrastructure and things happening in that neck of the woods. So my lean is put it on Furnish Finder, and then we may explore a weekly type short term, weekly to monthly, again, to just not be disruptive to the camp road and that peaceful retreat type feel.
Yeah. And quick reminder, Furnish Finder is $99 for the year. So if you're like, I don't know if it's going to work in my area, I'm just going to put it up there and see if I get any inquiries. The second thing people always think is, well, what about the furniture? I have to invest in the furniture and be all in on this midterm or short-term rental thing. But you don't. You can put it up with furniture coming soon. So you're making really good points, Kristen, that just try and mark it out and see what kind of interests you have. And, definitely reminder, look at furnishfinder.com/stats to help point you in the right direction. But sometimes it's just getting in and getting started so you can see those tenant leads coming in and who's traveling to your area, what price ranges they're searching and why, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, we've gotten through the portfolio. Thanks for enlightening us on your 4 investment properties, all in Maine. I love that. Now we're going to wrap up the episode with just a little few extra pieces of conversation that highlights Kristen's perspective on midterm rentals. And one is you have noticed that the travelers to your area seem to like the small town suburbs versus being in the heart of the main city. Correct me if I say it wrong, Bangor.
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm finding is they want neighborhoods that are safe with walking paths, that are well lit, and not necessarily downtown in traffic. They're going for the peaceful. They've worked long hours. They've been engaging with people all day. They almost want the escape feeling. So I have, a litany of trails, local like playgrounds, waterfronts that people can walk that are very serene in nature versus the chaos and the hecticness of being downtown like Bangor.
And then you have a really great outlook on the 3 different rental strategies. We've got short term, midterm, and long term. So, can you give your perspective on each strategy and why you like which one you have landed on as your sweet spot, which we know is midterms because that's what we're talking about?
Absolutely. So short terms, it was fun. I like the aspect of meeting new people. The downfall for sure is, the turnover, the disruption to the neighborhood. Everyone that's coming is typically not familiar with the area, so it's a lot of work for me to be able to share everything that people can take advantage of weekend after weekend after weekend. So it's a high energy, high engagement touch point from my perspective. Long term, it feels more set it and forget it. They seem to be more like, don't talk to me every month. Like, I'll talk to you when I need something. I'm living here for a year. Like, I'll send you my check month after month, which is fine. But clearly, as you can tell from the episode today, like, I like to be hands-on. I like to be engaging. I want people to come to Maine to experience Maine and then always want to return and maybe live, but definitely work, play, visit, and vacation and potentially seasonally work here. So midterm is my favorite strategy by far.
Awesome.
Love it. Okay, Kristen. So we've talked so much about community and connections and involvement, giving back during this episode. And I think as investors, it's not something that people always think about offhand. So give us some more of the reasons why you love it and why it's just so important to you as we close up.
Absolutely. So Maine is a wonderful place. Our staple is Maine the way life should be. And so my passion is to share that with people, whether it's through work, vacation, et cetera. And my message really to people is be a community connector, really get to know what are the needs of that community and find out how to help solve their gaps through real estate investing. I've attended town meetings, introduce yourself to the economic development manager and really understand what their key priorities are. It's amazing the people that you'll meet, the deep knowledge and the grassroots perspective from the people who live, work, and play in that community. And the rest is history.
I love that so much. That is so great.
Yep. That's a perfect way to wrap up this episode. Kristen, thank you so much for being with us. Quick reminder.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. If you want to connect with Kristen, then go to the show notes on YouTube or click her Furnish Finder property profile link on audio platforms as well. And if for some reason you find one that I forgot, feel free to let me know. But we just appreciate you sharing your story with us and for taking the time out of your day to just talk about why you love midterm rentals. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.